Guys, it is finally happening. There is a book 5 announced with a release date. If you've been following Paolini on any of his social medias, you've seen the mysterious countdown from 7 to 1, and then today, the news that we are getting a 5th book in the inheritance cycle. Quick spoiler warning before we get any farther, this video will contain spoilers for the first 4 inheritance cycle books. Don't mind me while I have the Reddit post from this morning pulled up to make sure all my details are correct. The new book is coming out November 7th, and the main character will be Murtagh. This is not actually the first book in the next series that he was planning to write. He says in his post that while he started to work on the official 5th book, there were just more questions that needed to be answered, some pertinent and necessary details to fill in for us, the readers. So this is kind of like book 4.5 rather than officially 5. I know some of us felt that way about The Fork, the Witch, and the Worm, but this one will be a full-length novel set in Alagasia with some of our main characters that we already feel a connection to. Somewhere around the size of 700-ish pages, almost long enough. It is a direct continuation of events from the end of Inheritance onwards. I know there were some people who really wanted to see not necessarily a prequel, but having Murtagh as the main character, seeing some of his past and how he got to where he was at the point that Eragon met him. I'm not sure that that's the book I want to read because it will be so sad and tragic, but following him from the point where he's basically freed from Galbatorix and able to move forward from there, that sounds like a much more fulfilling storyline to get from him. So since we're all so excited for this, what are the things we really want to see in this book about Murtagh? I'll tell you what I would like to see, and then you can add your own in the comments and we can discuss those as fellow fans. Some of the main things that I would like to see in a story about Murtagh are just extra time for them as dragon and rider to be able to bond with each other. From the time that Thorn was hatched, he was under Galbatorix's direct control. Murtagh was able to get away for a time before being taken back and put back under that control. They have been forced into a specific role, and they've been forced into doing things they would never have chosen to do on their own. Thorn was literally forced to grow faster than what was natural for him. Murtagh was even forced to give up his true name. There's not much you can do to come back from that. Murtagh was forced to do horrible things, including what he had to do to Naswada, forced to fight his brother, which I'm sure there were times that Murtagh wanted to fight Eragon. There was definitely some pain and some hatred that he was taking out on his half-brother, but given the choice, I don't think that's how Murtagh would treat Eragon. And that's kind of the point of what I'm hoping for in this book, is that Murtagh and Thorn will get to make their own choices, that they'll finally get some agency. When we read the first book and we see Eragon and Saphira, they have a certain freedom and a certain amount of choice. They're not already being controlled by anyone, and that is so the opposite of what happens to Thorn and Murtagh. They are under Galbatorix's control from the very beginning. Now they are freed from that control, and I want them to just go off into the wilderness and have time to bond with each other, to get to know each other as friends and soulmates, and time to heal from all that time they spent under Galbatorix's control. I want Murtagh to have time to deal with his heritage. It's going to be a lot different than it was for Eragon. Murtagh knows whose son he is this whole time. Eragon doesn't know who his father is, finds out it's Morzan, has to deal with that, and then later finds out, oh, never mind, it's not Morzan, actually, it's Brom. Murtagh doesn't have the hope of that happening. He's not going to find out that he actually has some hero for a father. He knows it's Morzan. He knows what his heritage is, and he is going to have to come to terms with that. I'd love for him to maybe spend some time in Carvajal, maybe getting to know his mother's people and exploring that part of his heritage some more. At least seeing where his mother came from. It'd be fun to see Murtagh and Roran get to interact, maybe bond a little, because they're cousins. kind of think they'd get along really well. And I would like the two of them, Thorn and Murtagh, to be able to find themselves, discover what it is they really want to do, and then be able to do it. I'd like Thorn to be able to have some interactions with other dragons that don't involve fighting them. Maybe some positive dragon community, something, I don't know. And I'll be interested to see if there's any type of relationship at all, whether positive or negative, between Murtagh and Naswada. There seemed to be like this little spark of something that could grow, but Naswada is the leader of a nation. I have a feeling Murtagh isn't going to want to be part of that political life anymore, and Naswada wants to put restrictions on magic. Murtagh is a magic user. How's that going to work? Is Naswada going to try to pull Murtagh in to work for her and then try to control him? Because that's not going to work for him. He's not going to want that in his life. I don't know. I'm really bad at predictions. I'm really bad at guessing what's going to happen later. But tell me, because if you're watching this, I know you are excited for this book too. What do you really hope is going to happen? What do you really hope won't happen? Let me know. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. You can follow me on Instagram. My link is in the description, and you can subscribe here for more bookish content like this. And I'll see you next time. Bye. 500 pages. 700, 700, 850. That's close to 3,000 pages. And it's not enough.